everyone, and welcome to another great session here at the 8th Annual UAGC Early Childhood Conference. You are in for a treat on this next session, Unlocking the Power of Play, How Children's Play Shapes Their Brain Development, and I'm super excited to listen to this. Carla Ward is our exceptional speaker. She is amazing. You are just going to enjoy every single second of this, and let me give her the proper introduction. Carla Ward is an experienced early childhood educator and the visionary founder of Early Learning Foundations, a business dedicated to promoting education and elevating the profession of early childhood education. With over 19 years of experience, Carla is a dedicated person that helps ECE professionals in ways including hosting the Every ECE podcast, which is amazing. You need to go subscribe right now. She offers professional development workshops and ECE consulting. Carla loves to share actionable and inspiring ideas with fellow educators in and out of the classroom to help support professional practices in ECE. And if you are looking for her podcast or anything else, I will share a link in the listen notes, so go there now. Okay, on this next screen, we kindly request your attention for a brief moment in the spirit of transparency and utmost respect for our early childhood community. We have some things that we would like you to read that are very, very important because it will empower yourself with information that regards our knowledge sharing environment. All right, on this disclaimer screen, we also have a few things that we would like you to read, and then together we're going to embark on this very engaging topic. And Carla, thank you for being here, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited. We are going to just dive right in. So I'm going to turn my camera off so that my talking with my hands doesn't distract you. So first, I want to acknowledge that the land upon which I'm teaching from today is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties and is within the lands protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Also, this content is not personalized legal or financial advice for your center or your practice as an early childhood educator. The goal today is to inspire you and provide you with ideas that you can implement into your practice. Each state and province has different licensing rules and regulations, so please consult with your own legal counsel or licensing advisor before implementing something that you are unsure about. So, in today's workshop, you're going to explore how play shapes children's brain development. We'll delve into the neuroscience behind play, revealing how it enhances cognitive function, fosters creativity, and nurtures emotional well-being. And the reason behind this is because even though it is 2024 and we know that play is so important for children's development, many of us are still finding ourselves having to defend play. So what this will hopefully do today is give you the backing that you need when explaining how play supports brain development. So I got a lovely introduction, but just a little bit about myself. I live in Ontario, Canada. I'm a registered early childhood educator. I'm a play advocate. And as Letitia mentioned, host of the Everything ECE podcast. And I absolutely love the profession of early childhood education. So I am so grateful that we get to spend time together today. So we're going to kick it off with the definition of neuroscience from Georgetown University. Neuroscience is the science of how the nervous system develops, its structures, and what it does. So today we're going to talk about play and the brain. Play is so crucial for the development of neural connections. So really think about that. We keep saying that play is good for children's cognitive development. We say that play is important for children. We look at children and we see these tiny human beings. But what I want you to start thinking about is what's going on inside of them, because that will help us develop how we treat them, how we teach them, and how we design the environment around them. So when children play, they engage in complex activities that require problem solving, decision making, and social interactions. These activities will stimulate the brain. They're going to encourage the formation of synapses, which is that connection between neurons inside the brain. More synapses means a more efficient and adaptable brain. So, for example, if children are playing outside and they're playing a game of tag, they're not just running around. They are making quick decisions. They are assessing their environment and coordinating their movements. All these activities enhance neural connectivity and promote cognitive development. So as we go through today, think about how you observe children. How do you document their play? Are you documenting the verb, as in running? Or are you documenting running, making decisions, coordinating movements? So really start taking those steps a little further when you're observing and documenting, because again, you're going to see how important play is in that cognitive development. So a study by the American Academy of Pediatrics highlights that children who engage in regular play have higher levels of synaptic density in the prefrontal cortex, the area that the brain is responsible for complex behavior and decision making. As educators, we love working with children. That's why we're here. Most of us went into this because we really enjoy working with children. We love who they are, what they do, and how they learn. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't sometimes become tricky. We know that play can be fun, loud, sometimes chaotic, and it can be challenging as the educator in the room because we want to embrace play, and deep down, many of us know that it's important. But sometimes we really just want a nice, quiet afternoon. However, a silent child isn't necessarily an engaged child who's learning. But something that I found is a game changer for me as an educator was viewing the child with their brain at the forefront of my teaching. The brain really is the computer that drives all of us. It is the drive behind a child's emotions, behaviors, interactions, speech, and so on. Well, really, it's the computer behind all of our emotions. So when we are responding to a child's emotions, it's our two brains kind of interacting with each other. So when I found that I started embracing the brain and play as my teaching intention, it really did change my observations, my interactions, my learning environment, and the love of my job. It really took my passion for early childhood education to a whole new level. I was able to become excited again. I went from being burnt out to being inspired. It is absolutely incredible what can happen when you start to really understand what you are doing in your day-to-day. Play also plays a pivotal role in brain plasticity. So brain plasticity, or also known as neuroplasticity, refers to the brain's ability to change and adapt as a result of experience. So during play, children are exposed to new experiences and challenges that promote neural growth and strengthening of existing neural pathways. So for instance, when a child learns a new skill like walking, their brain adapts to a new skill by forming new neural connections related to balance, coordination, and motor control. This adaptability is crucial for that overall cognitive development. So research from the National Institute of Health indicates that engaging in diverse play activities can enhance that neuroplasticity, leading to improved learning and memory capabilities. So when you design your classroom in a way that promotes play, you're already providing those diverse play opportunities. And you're going to hear me kind of refer back to worksheets a little bit in the sense that worksheets are very two-dimensional. Play is very three-dimensional. So think about that and the role the two have in neuroplasticity. So there are several key brain structures that are actively involved when children engage in play. So understanding these structures can help us appreciate the complexity and the benefits of play. So first, there's the prefrontal cortex. It's located at the front of the brain, and it is responsible for executive function, such as decision-making, planning, and social behavior. During play, children practice these skills, enhancing the development and functionality of the prefrontal cortex. Then we have the limbic system, which is involved in the emotional responses and memory formation. Play activities that involve social interaction and emotional engagement stimulate the limbic system, helping children learn to regulate their emotions and form lasting memories. Lastly, the cerebellum. It's located at the back of the brain, and it is crucial for motor control and coordination. So physical activities such as running, jumping, climbing, all activate the cerebellum, promoting the development of motor skills and that physical coordination. Now, obviously, these are not all the parts of the brain, but these are the key ones to think about when providing play opportunities. If we went through every single little piece of the brain, I think I would be overwhelmed, and I feel you would be too. So we're just focusing on those three. So now let's look at some examples of play activities and the brain structure they engage. So first up, pretend play or imaginative play. It engages that prefrontal cortex as children play and act out scenarios. This type of play also involves the limbic system as children express and manage emotions through their imaginative stories. So when we're using play, we're building the brain, but we're also using different parts of the brain. Whereas if we were to do a single task that is teacher directed, maybe we'll engage the limbic system and the prefrontal cortex. But there's no guarantee. When we are engaging in pretend play or imaginative play, you are absolutely engaging multiple parts of the brain. Then we've got physical play. So playing on a playground, even climbing in a classroom if it is safe for the children, participating in sports. It primarily engages that cerebellum, enhancing the motor skills and coordination, but it also stimulates the prefrontal cortex through activities that require strategy and decision-making. So when you think about, for example, climbing tree logs, there are so many things that have to happen in order for a child to step up on a tree log. They have to do a risk assessment. They have to look at their feelings around their ability to do this. They have to use strength. They have to use those motor skills to step up on the tree log. So there are so many things that come into play when they are doing physical activities. Then we have social play, which happens in so many different areas of the classroom. Oh, sorry. So we have the prefrontal cortex, which is engaged in that social decision making. Who you're going to play with, how you're going to decide who's doing what. Are we going to work together? What are we going to do? You've got the planning. So then you also have the limbic system managing the emotional aspects of interacting with the peers. So Carla wants to play with Letitia. Well, does Letitia want Carla to play with her? Are they going to share? There are so many social decision-making pieces and emotional pieces that come into that. So play engages the brain a lot more than a single worksheet working individually will ever do. And I'm not saying never to use worksheets in your classroom. Well, I guess a part of me kind of is. If you can go a whole day or a whole week or school year without using a worksheet, go for it. What I'm saying is worksheets can't be the main source of education in your program. You're not going to be engaging all aspects of the brain on the same level that play would. So then there's the relationship between play and emotional regulation. And I hear so often how educators are struggling with children's behaviors in the classroom. And so much of that comes down to emotional regulation. So emotional regulation is the ability to manage and respond to emotional experiences in a healthy and productive way. Play is so powerful. It is such a powerful tool here that helps children develop these crucial skills. Now, does that mean that if you let the children play, everybody's going to be emotionally regulated right away? Absolutely not. And I don't want you to walk in thinking that that's what's going to happen, because you will be greatly disappointed, my friend. But it will help. So play allows children to experience a range of emotions in a safe and controlled environment. I say safe and controlled because you're there to support them. That doesn't mean we're going to just let children experience all the emotions and hash it out without the support of an adult. That's where the safe and controlled environment comes in. But through play and your support, they're going to learn to navigate the feelings like joy, frustration, excitement, disappointment. This process is essential for developing emotional regulation. Telling a child how they're supposed to respond versus guiding them through the response are two very different end results. Telling them what they're supposed to be responding to or how they're supposed to respond in the moment of emotion is going to be forgotten. But when we guide them through and we give them the tools, especially for those really, really big emotions that we know happen all too well in toddler, preschool, and kindergarten, we're going to be setting them up for a lifetime of success. Research by the Harvard University Center on the Developing Child shows that children who engage in regular imaginative play have better emotional regulation skills and are more capable of managing stress. And really think about the reasoning behind that. They're faced with more situations where they have to work alongside others in imaginative play. They're going to be tested more often because you've got multiple personalities within one program with many different ideas. So they're learning in a natural way how to cooperate, how to compromise, how to use their words with you guiding them. It really is incredible how play sets the groundwork for so many skills that we need throughout our entire lives. So to promote emotional regulation through play, look at your environment. Ensure that the play environment is safe and supportive. Does it allow children to explore and express their emotions freely? Now, that doesn't mean unsafely. It just means freely without judgment. Look at encouraging role-playing and imaginative play through open-ended dramatic play. So look at your dramatic center. Is your dramatic center set up for multiple children to engage in drama? And facilitate group play activities that promote cooperation and empathy. Emotional regulation and executive functioning go hand in hand and both benefit immensely from play. So executive function is a set of cognitive processes that include working memory, flexible thinking, and self-control. These are all things that continue to develop well into our 20s. But if we can start laying the groundwork, a big percentage of this development happens in the early years. So that working memory, flexible thinking, and self-control. Imagine being able, well, not imagine, we have the ability to set children up for success in these three areas. These skills are essential for planning, decision-making, problem solving, and managing time and attention. So executive functions can be broken down into three key components. First is that working memory. So it involves holding information in the mind and using it to complete tasks. It is crucial for multi-step instructions and solving problems. So through play, children practice holding and manipulating information. And a study published in the Journal of Experimental Child Psychology found that children who engage in memory-based games show significant improvements in their working memory capacity. One activity that I absolutely loved to do with my students, and I it was teacher directed in the beginning, and then I was able to leave it out as an activity, was I would take a tray, I would put multiple objects on it, cover it with a cloth, the children would close their eyes, and then I would remove an item. And they had to guess which item I had removed. And after a few days of doing this consistently, I was then able to leave the tray out for children to do it with each other. This is a fantastic memory game to engage with early learners. Then we have the cognitive flexibility, which is the ability to think about something in multiple ways. So it allows us to adjust new information, switch between tasks, and adapt to changing environments. So for many of us as educators, we know that transitions are a real struggle. So this is where cognitive flexibility comes in. So in our programs, by providing engaging, diverse play activities, children are going to learn to be able to switch between different tasks and perspectives, especially when they're playing with peers who might not want to build something in the block center that the other child has built every day for a week. So what I mean by that is, let's say little Carla wants to build a house, and she has built a house every single day for a week. Well, now comes little Jeff, and he wants to build a farm. Carla has to engage in all of her emotions and some cognitive flexibility because she really likes her friend Jeff and wants to play together. So coming back to that pretend play and imaginative play as well will encourage children to think creatively and explore multiple scenarios. So another example would be in your dramatic center, a child pretending to be the doctor and their friends the patient, and then them switching roles. It helps put the children in a situation where they have to see things from a different perspective. One is the doctor, one is the patient. So when your learning environment is designed with play in mind, pretend play and imaginative games present themselves authentically and are so much more effective for that cognitive flexibility. And then lastly, we have the inhibitory, I always laugh, I can't say this word very well. So inhibitory control is the ability to resist impulses and distractions. So essentially, it's your self-control. So it helps us and children stay focused on a task and regulate our behaviors and emotions. When we think about children focusing on a task, I do want you to keep in mind what's developmentally appropriate. It is not common for a child to sit for 30, 45, 1 hour, 30 or 45 minutes or 1 hour. We shouldn't be expecting that. That does not mean that the child does not stay focused. We have to think within the realms of what's developmentally appropriate. However, that being said, I have seen children spend 2 hours working in a block play center, and that involved a ton of focus. But again, they were able to move their bodies. They were able to engage in socialization, and regulate their behaviors and emotions. So again, play is pulling in those executive function skills that are so necessary for all types of human interaction. Whether you're 2, 20, or 99, you need all of these executive functions to be a contributing member of society. Play helps lay the groundwork and sets everyone up for success when we really engage with play. So according to Harvard University Center on the Developing Child, strong executive functions are linked to better academic performance and social outcomes. So we don't need to have young children in toddler, preschool, or even kindergarten doing flashcards and working on worksheets. We need to let them play. Play improves that executive function, therefore improves academic and social skills. And play offers significant benefits to executive functioning. So again, look at that environment. Activities like building blocks, drawing, outdoor exploration are going to encourage children to use their creativity and critical thinking skills. Children with strong executive functions are able to follow multi-step instructions, stay organized, and manage their time effectively. And in social settings, they can navigate complex social interactions and resolve conflicts. Wouldn't that be a beautiful thing if we could all do that? So as adults, we know the importance of these skills, but we also know they don't develop overnight. We have to introduce play at a young age to help it grow. It's like planting a seed. Just because we don't see what's growing in the soil doesn't mean it's not growing. So just because we don't see play results instantly doesn't mean they don't exist. But take away the play, and my goodness, will you see the absence in executive functioning later on in life? So here are practical strategies for enhancing executive functions through play. Offer structures and free play opportunities to develop different aspects of executive functioning. Meaning, go back to that environment. You're going to hear me say this so many times. Your environment is so important, and you as the educator are part of that environment. How you receive children's activities in that environment make all the difference. So I encourage you to embrace one particular word, and that is yes. You want to design a learning environment where yes is the key word. So design a learning environment as a place where children can move freely from one activity to the other, making choices and playing freely, therefore engaging their brain. And encourage pretend play to foster cognitive flexibility and creativity. This is one of the best parts of being an early childhood educator. You get to play too, and you get to pretend. So if your students pretend that they have a coffee shop, pretend that you are a customer and order a coffee. That is the best part of our job, is we get to be young. So it's important to remember that free play can also extend beyond your dramatic center. It is incredible the imagination that can transpire in a block center, or the creativity that can take place in an art center when you provide process versus product art. So again, you are part of the environment as the educator. Are you embracing the yes? Do children need to make exactly the same thing for art? They do not, because everybody is at a different capability level. So why restrict some children, and why push some children beyond what they're capable of? Let's provide process art to really see creativity take off. You will also see more development when you do that. And it is so important to design a learning environment that supports exploration and problem solving, allowing children to take risks and learn from their experiences. Now, I want to preface this with saying that there is a difference between children taking risks and not being safe. Just before you go removing all boundaries, really assess that environment of yours. Does it allow for exploration? One of the biggest things that I encourage, and I know it is difficult for lots of people, but allow things from other centers to move around. Allow maybe Play-Doh from the art table to make its way to the dramatic center. It is incredible what children can come up with when you allow them to merge centers together. And as we dive deeper into the importance of play and its effect on the brain, we can't skip discussing sensory integration into play. Sensory play involves stimulating a child's senses, so touch, sight, sound, smell, and taste. I know that taste is a tricky one during play, so really remember to engage in that during lunchtime or snack time. So these activities are crucial to a child's development, as they, again, help the brain process and respond to sensory information, which in turn helps a child make sense of the world around them, improving their ability to focus, learn, and interact with their environment. Children with well-developed sensory processing skills are better able to regulate their emotions and behaviors. Stand and water play are just two examples of sensory play that you can integrate into your program right away. There are so many activities that you can put in a sensory bin. I highly recommend being intentional with your sensory bins. It is so much more than just a classroom staple that is there every day that you have to set and forget. I encourage every program to include sensory play on their planning sheets where you purposefully plan out what's going in the sensory bin. So consider two things. One, the children's interests. Is there something that has stood out to you through observation that you can put in your sensory bin to enhance learning through the senses? And two, what can you put in your bin this week that is different from the previous, and how many of the senses can you engage? And are there other skills that can be encouraged in your sensory bin? So for example, putting tweezers in a bin along with pom-poms. Maybe the children will touch the pom-poms and engage their senses that way. Or maybe they will use the tweezers and practice their fine motor skills while trying to pick up the pom-poms. Either way, you're enhancing children's skills through play. Now, onto my favorite partner in play, and that is neuroplasticity, which is the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections through life. This adaptability allows the brain to learn from experiences, adjust to new situations, and recover from injuries. A landmark study done by neuroscientist Dr. Michael Merzenich demonstrated that the brain can rewire itself in response to training and experience, highlighting the remarkable adaptability of networks. I get so excited talking about neuroplasticity. This is an entire course, let alone presentation on itself. I highly encourage you to dive into this a little bit deeper, but I will give you the key components here. So play is a powerful driver of neuroplasticity. Engaging in diverse play activities stimulates different areas of the brain, promoting the growth of new neural pathways and enhancing cognitive flexibility. So everything we've already talked about is neuroplasticity. You're already engaging the brain. You're building new neural pathways. But I really wanted to focus on this a little bit because I used to work as a play-based kindergarten teacher at a school for children with brain injuries. And one year, a little boy enrolled in my program who had had a hemispherectomy, and I was told by another professional not to expect much growth from him. And let me tell you, I took that as a challenge and I dove into neuroplasticity, and I am so grateful that I did. Do not underestimate the power of play in the brain. This little boy showed so much growth in the year him and I worked together. And if I wasn't a play convert before, I certainly was after having him in my program for a year. For a brief little example of the growth that happened was when he started my program, he spoke very little. His family still used board books for him to read because they felt that he would never understand how to properly go through a book. And one day I just so happened to capture him reading his favorite book, If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. And he had memorized the book, and it was a paper book, and he was turning the pages and he was doing all the intonations, and I caught it on camera, and his parents burst into tears because they didn't know that he was capable of doing this. But I hadn't forced him to read this book. It was a natural part of play, and this is just a minor example of everything he had accomplished in the year. But trust play. It really is life-changing, and it really promotes neuroplasticity in the brain. So we're going to look at the mechanisms through which play promotes neuroplasticity, and I hope it gets you as excited as I am about the brain. So these mechanisms include synaptic plasticity, dendritic growth, and myelination. So synaptic plasticity refers to the strengthening or weakening of synapses in response to increased or decreased activity. So during play, Repeated use of certain neural pathways strengthen connections, making them more efficient. So when you worry that a child spends too much time in one area of the classroom, you can put your mind at ease because that is strengthening synapses in the brain. And just an extra fun fact, Joe Bowler out of Stanford University has an amazing program called U Cubed all about math, and she talks about synapses. And they've actually proven that when you get an answer wrong or you make a mistake, synapses actually fire in the brain. So when we play, blocks are going to fall down, towers are going to crash, we're going to make mistakes on artwork, things are going to go wrong. This is a beautiful thing because we are supporting synaptic plasticity, because we're helping synapses fire in the brain and strengthening those connections. Isn't that so cool? Then we have dendritic growth, which involves the formation of new dendritic spines, which increases the capacity for those synaptic connections. So just to get a little sciencey so you can kind of visualize, a dendritic spine is a small knob-like bump that sticks out from a dendrite, which is a part of a neuron, so a part of the brain cell. So dendrites receive signals from other neurons. When dendrites grow new spines, it means they are creating more places where they can connect with other neurons. This helps the brain cells communicate better and more efficiently. So when dendritic growth happens and new spines form, it boosts the brain's ability to form new connections, which then in turn improves learning and memory. I know I'm totally geeking out and I hope that I didn't just overwhelm you, but really think about that. That is all happening inside the brain without anybody telling it to do it, all while a child is playing. So play activities that require new skills or solving problems promote dendritic growth. How freaking cool is that? And then lastly, we have myelination, which is the process of forming a myelin sheath around nerve fibers. So that increases the speed and efficiency of a neural transmission. So physical activities that involve coordination and movement enhance myelination. So if you ever needed a reason to put some gross motor skills inside your program, myelination is the answer. So neuroplasticity plays a critical role in cognitive development. So by forming new neural connections, play enhances learning, memory, and problem solving. So activities like building blocks and engaging in creative storytelling methods challenges the brain and promotes cognitive development. So if anybody ever comes at you about their child playing blocks too much, or they're concerned about how much their child plays blocks, you can tell them that they are forming new neural connections. Storytelling also goes well beyond the pages of a book. So think about taking a story time off the pages and into play. So tell a story using puppets or visuals on a clothesline. Think about acting the story out or using movement to engage children physically in the story. And then don't put it away. Leave the pieces and props out for children to interact with. This is how we enhance the cognitive development and allow neuroplasticity to do its job. So play leverages the principles of neuroplasticity to enhance educational outcomes. I know that was a lot, and it was a lot of science talk because it can be overwhelming. But if I can offer you one piece of advice to walk away with from here, is trust the process. If you trust the process of play, embrace it, and commit to knowing that play truly supports brain development, then you will have your eyes opened when you observe the children in programs and see the magic happen. I wanted to thank you so much for joining me today. I really hope that if you weren't a play convert before, you are now. I would love to connect with you further. Here is my information. We can connect over social media, or you can check me out on the Everything ECE podcast. Thank you so much for today.
Carla, that was a wonderful session. We hope you will each choose another session to go to right now and talk to you soon.